Hi, I'm Jasper Pattendon at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Lots to bring you in the next hour. We've got our match briefing from Phil in a few moments' time. We'll reflect on the Virtue Trophy defeat at home to Swindon Town on Tuesday, and of course our exit in the competition that we got to the the final of. That was it, wasn't it? It was the final. Won the semi-final. It's very exciting. Got through to the final last year at Wembley, of course, but no more progress in that cup competition. Still in the FA Cup, of course, and we're entering the Berks and Bucks Cup at the quarter-final stage as well. The draw for that was made earlier today, bringing some news on that on the way. We'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield. We'll also hear from Bill Richards from the Florence Nightingale Hospice charity, who, along with the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, are staging a Santa Run, which starts and finishes at Adams Park on Sunday. Thanks to Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we'll catch up with Gary Hand, the left-back who played in that famous cup run which got Wycombe to the third round of the FA Cup for the first time over those two matches against Middlesbrough. 50 years of that will be celebrated at the Blackpool game on the 4th of January. We had Brynlee on the show last week. We'll be chatting to Alan Phillips, the captain, next week on the show as well. And with our focus on Wycombe Wanderers Women, who play Reading this Sunday, we'll speak to, current central defensive midfielder, but as you'll hear, has played in many other positions. In fact, most of them. We'll chat to Ailish Carolan as well before the hour's out, and we'll hear from Matt Bloomfield once more as well. But first, I'll chat with Phil, where I guess after Tuesday, the emotion very much one of disappointment.
Yeah, it was disappointing. Disappointing defeat, but also disappointing performance, really. Obviously a lot of changes going into the game, but we looked a little rusty, I think, at times, which is understandable given the, not the huge amount of game time available to those players, which again underlines the defeat, because now we're not in that competition. That's a game less for those sorts of players as well. So yeah, disappointing. It was two very preventable goals on the night as well. Credit to Swindon, though. They've been in a bad place in the league and in their division, and they played really well on the night, took their chances when they came, and that's all they could do, really. And then I thought they defended well, but Wycombe just didn't really, do enough in the game, I think, to convincingly say that we did enough to win it. So yeah, credit to Swindon. Good luck to them in the rest of the competition, and we can now concentrate on the league.
Is it a concern in the way? Because I guess it's fantastic to have that strong squad, but I guess if there are so many changes that many of the players aren't used to getting the game time, then that'll be a disadvantage as well.
Yeah, it's a tough balance, isn't it? It's a real tough balance. But these are competitive games. We've got to take a disappointment from it, really. But the run that the team have been on in all competitions has been marvellous. So you could say, we were due a defeat when we look at the run. I think it's important to say that we're disappointed in it. But yeah, we got a chance to put it right in the league on Saturday and continue the excellent form in the league.
I was going to say, really important that's not kind of derailed, and I guess in a way it's good that the defeat did come in that sort of cup competition environment.
Yeah, there is that as well. And I think we know that the manager's an incredibly competitive guy and doesn't like losing absolutely in anything. So it was interesting to get his thoughts on that game afterwards as well.
Very disappointing to lose and go out. Very disappointing. I didn't think that was us. The performance and the levels that we've set ourselves, I didn't think we were near that tonight. Very disappointing. 2 soft goals, very, very soft goals to give away, which is going to make you tough to win games. I said it on Saturday, if you give away soft goals, it's going to make it tough to win games.
Can you put your finger on what went wrong tonight?
I think there was a few things. The soft goals, as we mentioned, it's going to make it harder. We had a lot of possession, but didn't look like we had a real threat in the final third. Just, made some good chances, and unfortunately for us, didn't quite go our way. But just lots of little bits that weren't good enough on the night. And like I say, we had all the field tilt, we had all the possession, we had all the shots, we had everything. But it takes more than that to win a game.
With all the changes, is that a contributory factor as well, the lack of momentum and rhythm for players that haven't been playing regularly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I said it after Wildstone, and it's a byproduct of lads not playing regularly. And I feel for a few of the boys, because they've been absolutely brilliant for me and for us as a football club. And if you don't play regularly and really get in your groove, it's not easy to hit the ground running when you have an opportunity to play. And I totally understand that, and I get that. But irrespective of that, I think so much of the group that we have, that we expect higher standards of ourselves.
And it was against 10 men as well in the second half as well. It's to add to the disappointment, I guess so.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like, as soon as it went down to 10 men, you think that you've got an opportunity to get yourselves back in the game. But even at 1-0, would have been fine. But it's such a soft second goal to give away that then you've got a mountain to climb, and it gives 10 men really galvanises the group because they've got something to defend, really have something to defend. So, it was obviously disappointing. There was just several elements of our performance that just lacked the fluidity that we've been playing with recently. I think that then feeds into that around it, and it starts spreading, and before you know it, it just looks slightly disjointed. But there's still some good stuff to come out of it. I was really pleased with Luca Woodhouse to go on loan at Dagenham and really kind of start creating a career for himself. That's what it takes to go and play games week in, week out, and he's done that for himself. And I thought he did very well tonight, and it was nice for Taylor to get on and have some minutes at the end there as well. So fair play to those two. We believe in our development group. We want to give the boys opportunities as and when we can, and it's been tough because we've had a big senior squad this year, so those boys haven't had as many chances as we would have liked to have given them. But we gave Luca an opportunity tonight, and I thought he did very well.
And sadly, obviously now being out of the competition, those opportunities are now fewer.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? We want to get through because we want those regular games for as many people as possible to keep the lads ready to come in. We've seen it recently when Jasper's stepped in for Jack, and then Jack's gone back in for Jasper. By playing in the cup games, it keeps the whole group ready. Bez has been amazing, scored third goal in 3 games for him tonight, so good on him. And when you're not in the team regularly, it's really important for these games to come along, so it's something we'll have to navigate and negotiate in the second half of the season.
Really good to hear from him, and key that he pointed out things like some of the positives as well, the likes of Luca Woodhouse getting some game time as well.
Yeah, the way that the rules in that competition work, you can have players that are on window-to-window loans in non-league can come back and play in that competition. So, it was important that we could use those players as well. So great for Luca to get some competitive game time for Wycombe Wanderers and build on his really good loan spell he's been having at Dagenham and Redbridge, and same for Taylor Clark as well with Farnborough. So, it was a really good sort of balanced squad in terms of, development players, first teamers and players needing minutes. So, it was an interesting balance across the whole lot. So,
I guess obviously the scene is set nicely for Saturday with the former management team in charge of the opposition and them being bottom and us being top and in such a good form at the moment.
Yeah. If you're a neutral journalist, you'll be loving this one. Top v bottom, Gareth versus Blooms, the apprentice versus the master, so to speak. Great opportunity, I think, though, for Matt Bloomfield just to show just how far Wycombe Wanderers and he has come in this period of time when he's been in charge of us. What a fabulous 2024 he's had. The nominations, the wins for Manager of the Month, another nomination this time round as well. We'll find out tomorrow morning if he's got another one. So it's just a great opportunity, I think, for the gaffer just to kind of stamp his mark on this team even further, because what a calendar year we've had. And the challenge that Gareth and Dobbo have got at Shrewsbury is a completely different one now. And look, they got 11 points and they've got a huge task to stay up, and if anyone can do it, it's those two. But we really, really hope that doesn't start on Saturday. And I know that Matt Bloomfield will know more than anybody what a tough game it's going to be, and how hard Wycombe will have to work if they are to win the game. And that will hopefully stand us in good stead.
And 101 games in charge is very impressive as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's a fickle business, isn't it? Football management. You only got to roll the clock back 12 months. And, a lot of the Wycombe fans who sing his name now, they weren't singing it 12 months ago. Certainly not in that respect. Look, time is the commodity that all managers need. And, credit to Rob Guhig who kept Matt on in January and backed him in the window. And we've seen the fruits of that now and continuation of that in the summer as well with the new ownership group and everything else. So it's been excellent to watch, and long may it continue.
And join us next week when 102 games will also be very impressive.
That's the thing, it's like, I think, I'm not sure at what point, I think the average life of a manager in their job is, I think it's below 12 months now almost, which is crazy. It's a fickle business, as we know. But like you say, Matt Bloomfield works harder than anyone I think I know in any sort of industry. So all the success that he gets is deserved. And, I think you don't win anything as a football club at this stage of the season, but we're certainly well placed and hopefully an exciting 2025 to come too.
And obviously, because of the changes on Tuesday, I guess it's sort of a doubt, if you like, that the cup defeat and exit will really derail the current good form in the league as well.
Yeah, look, there will be huge amounts of changes, and hopefully we'll see the rewards of those players not playing in midweek. Shrewsbury didn't have a midweek fixture, so they've just been preparing for this game on Saturday, and Wycombe Wanderers from their first team regulars perspective will hopefully have the same approach too. Look, it should be a good game. I really hope Wycombe play to their full potential and are able to, and we get a comfortable victory.
Great to speak to you and enjoy the game on Saturday.
Will do. Thank you, Colin.
Phil will be bringing you live commentary from Shrewsbury on Saturday. That kicks off at 3 o'clock. It's top v bottom. Matt Bloomfield pitting his wits against former manager Gareth Ainsworth and assistant Richard Dobson. Of course, you can hear the full chat with the manager from Tuesday night's game on the Wycombe Wanderers website and on Wanderers TV as well. I've misled you. I must apologise as well. At the top of the show, I told you that I'd tell you who the Box and Box Cup draw was, but it's tomorrow. I thought it's today. I've got my dates mixed up. Hasn't actually happened yet. But yes, do look out for more on that. Let's switch our attention to the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation. On next week's show, we'll be chatting to Sam and Kalula, who have been working on the return of the Warm Hub. It's coming back on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening throughout the colder months, giving older local residents the opportunity to socialise together and beat the winter chill in a warm, welcoming environment. I was fortunate enough to go along last year. You might recall we did the show from one of them. The Warm Hub, it's been arranged by Wycombe Wanderers Foundation. It's a safe space designed to help the local community thrive during the colder months, as mentioned. It was a hugely successful pilot in 22-23. The Warm Hub returns to Adams Park to provide a hot meal for each guest, create new friends, and also provide a few hours of comfort and connection. Occasionally, you might get some of the first team dropping in as well. It's been made possible thanks to Buckinghamshire Council's Helping Hands campaign and High Wycombe Community Board. As I say, more on that on next week's show. On Sunday, the Foundation have teamed up with the Florence Nightingale Hospice charity to arrange a Santa Dash, which starts and finishes at Adams Park. I'm very pleased to say we can hear from Bill Richards, who's from the charity and is organising the event.
To support the hospice, which cares for patients across Buckinghamshire. It is sort of based at Stoke Mandeville Hospital, but our team of clinical nurse specialists work across Bucks, caring for patients and their families, including obviously the Wycombe area. And of course, many of our volunteers and staff working for the charity have some sort of previous connection to the hospice, as will many of the runners taking part in the Santa Dash. So we are very delighted to be doing it in Wycombe because it's an area we've not done before. We've been liaising with Juliet at the football club, the foundation, to set this up. And we do very much rely on volunteers and the Freemasons, who are great at marshalling for us. And it obviously does take a lot of organisation, but the rewards are normally great for us financially and also great for the people who take part, because it really is a lot of fun.
So the name of the event rather suggests, I think, what's involved.
Yes, indeed, although Dash may be overstating it for some people, particularly as we looked at the route in Wycombe, and the name High Wycombe comes for a reason. So there is a little bit of a climb at one point, so it should sort out the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. But yeah, it is a sort of very much a fun run. We encourage everybody to wear fancy dress. We do supply them with a Santa hat and a medal, and most importantly, a mince pie after the race. So it is very much a community and fun event.
And obviously as well, this is, we're just around the corner from the event itself, but this is, I guess, something we should have prepared for and kind of trained for it a little.
Well, yes, I'd like to think that nobody's hopefully going to collapse on the route. It's not the most owners of distances, 2.5 kilometres or 5 kilometres. So yeah, it is, as the name suggests, it is a very much a fun event. I'd say, with all the monies being split between the hospice and the Wycombe Football Foundation.
So you mentioned some slight inclines. Where does the route take you?
It obviously starts at Adams Park. The 2.5 and the 5K start together, obviously along the road out of Wycombe, and then it is a bit of a climb up Roundwood Road, for those who know the area of Wycombe, round Sands, and then the 2.5 sort of cut across the park and back, and the 5K continue up the hill and have a bit of a run round the top of the hill, and then they'll be pleased to hear it's back down the hill for a finish. So, as I say, not the biggest distance.
And obviously it's fantastic that, anyone who's perhaps not taking part but is on the route, either just sort of passing or happens to live in the area, can come and support as well.
Absolutely, indeed. They can, and I think one of the great draws is that actually we finished running around the pitch on the way back. So anybody who loves Adams Park, and I'm sure a lot of people do, it's a lovely ground. Yeah, so they got a chance to run around the pitch as a finale, and obviously spectators are welcome. And also there's plenty of spaces left at the moment. If people want to sign up on the day, again, we welcome that, really.
And quite a great spectacle as well, seeing so many people, especially who are dressed in their Father Christmas outfits.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. It should be a great sight. And we've already done one at Buckingham, which was very well received. Unfortunately, Storm Dara put a kibosh on the one we were doing at Hadnam last week, so we had to cancel that. So we're particularly looking forward to some nice weather, I trust, on Sunday, and an opportunity to enjoy the delights of Wycombe and the delights of Adam Park, particularly. Also, if you wouldn't mind, Colin, I ought to thank our very kind sponsors who make these things possible. So particularly David Sully, funeral directors, and Orange Doors and Windows, who are sponsoring this particular event. It'd be hard to go ahead without their support, so I'd like to thank them. And as I also like to thank the Freemasons for their marshalling, and the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, who have been kindly supportive of us and made us feel very welcome.
And as you touched on, really important to have such a great fundraising event, especially at this time of year.
Absolutely, yeah, really it is a key time for us. Lots of different Christmas events going on. And clearly for those in the hospice, Christmas is a very tough time for a lot of those with loved ones in the hospice. So we're particularly keen to make them have a lovely Christmas. And our wonderful nurses always do that, but they can only do that and continue their marvellous service by support through fundraising. So we're really grateful for anybody who can sign up for the event on Sunday, or indeed just make a donation to the hospice directly. But do get dressed as festively as possible. We'd love to see as many crazy, wacky outfits as possible. And really just come along and have fun, really. Everybody's welcome, adults, children, dogs on leads. So yeah, it is a big community event, which we're really pleased to be running.
So how can we take part?
Okay, so tickets are on sale now, Colin. You can buy them online or in person on the day of the event. If you go to the Eventbrite site and then put in, if you look at fnhospice.org.uk/Santa-Wycombe24, you should find it. Still can register there. Otherwise, you can just rock up on the morning itself. Event starts at 10:30, so any time before then you want to come along, you can sign up on the day, which should be great.
And you mentioned there's a mince pie at the end as well.
There is indeed, always a big draw. Yeah, everybody's catered, those with gluten-free as well. We have some gluten-free mince pies. And also to mention the Wycombe are opening their club shop. So if anybody wants some Wycombe Wanderers Christmas gifts, they'll be able to be purchased. And I believe the club are also laying on coffee as well. So we encourage people to linger, relax, and enjoy the post-run celebrations.
What a great carrot. Not actually a carrot, obviously, but there might be.
There might be a carrot, yes. We're not offering a carrot personally, but you bring your own carrots by all means.
There might be reindeer. No, can't promise that either.
No.
And what do you hope anyone gets from it who's taking part? Obviously, I guess it'll be good for fitness and well-being and stuff, but also, obviously, you're raising money for a great cause as well.
Exactly right, yes. First and foremost, hoping people are going to have a lot of fun on it. It is a bit of exercise. It's not the most demanding of runs, clearly. But also, to learn a little bit more about the hospice and the Wycombe Foundation, I think would be good. We'll have some literature on the day if people are interested. And we're always looking for volunteers across Buckinghamshire to help with future events or within our great retail stores, or just generally helping out. So, if anybody wants to get involved with the hospice a little bit more over the next 12 months, we'd love to hear from them on the day. But again, as well as the money itself, it is very much a sort of an awareness campaign for Wycombe, conscious that obviously we don't have a retail shop in Wycombe, but a lot of people get the support from the hospice. So we're really just trying to raise awareness as well as to the wonderful work we do across the county.
And remind us where we can find out more.
So again, if you just the simplest way is simply to go onto the FN Hospice website, and you've got details of events there, so you can follow through links there to sign up and really hear a lot more about the hospice itself and the wonderful work it does across Buckinghamshire.
It's been a real pleasure to speak to you. Really appreciate your time and hope it's a successful event on Sunday.
Thank you, Colin. Appreciate your time as well. And yes, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas from us at Florence Nightingale Hospice Charity.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire. And on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield as he prepares for his 101st game in charge of the club, and we'll catch up with Ailish Carolan as well from Wycombe Wanderers Women. But first, let's look ahead to the FA Cup, and the third round tie for 2025 sees Wycombe Wanderers against Portsmouth on a Friday night. I know, unusual. That's on the 10th of January, but on the 4th, Wycombe's League One home game against Blackpool. There'll be a large contingent from the team who got to the third round of that competition for the very first time against Middlesbrough over 2 legs, and one of those who'll be there and who played 50 years ago was Gary Hand.
It's an unbelievable long time ago. I mean, I was thinking about it last night, and 50 years. The annoying thing is it makes you sound such an old person, but you're the same person with a different body these days. Inside you're still the same, you know. And there's just vivid memories of things. And I mean, they're so lucky these days, aren't they? I mean, I watched one of your games the other day, the Wealdstone game. You know, the whole game's on TV. We had about probably, 10 minutes or something. So it's so much easier to be able to look back on your career these days. I mean, I think a lot of the games are even non-league games. I think at Wealdstone they record every game, you know, and I think a lot of clubs do that. It's good for analysis, etc., and looking back.
No, absolutely. And I guess obviously reaching the third round of the FA Cup was such an achievement back then. But do you have kind of recollections of, you know, the journey to get to the third round? Did that feel a bit special? Did you think, we're doing pretty well here?
No, yeah, and it's quite a long process really, because I think I've played in the first or second qualifying round or whatever, and so I think it's about 7 or 8 games before you even get there. So it's a long haul, and you do have to beat some, you know, decent sides along the way. I can remember one season when I was at Hendon, and I think we played Harwich and Parkston, who were about 3 divisions below us, and it took us 4 replays, I think, before we won. And I mean, I think the sad thing today is, and it really is sad, is the fact that there's no replays. Because, you know, what would have happened to us if we drew at Wycombe? That would have been great, and then it was finished on penalties, you know. So going to Middlesbrough was the icing on the cake, if you like, after we'd had, you know, done well at home. Yeah, and I always think, funnily enough, although we gave them a scare at home, and I know that they had lots of the ball in the second game, but it took them till the last minute to get a goal. And if you think about it, when you say they were top of the first division, people don't realise that was the Premier Division then. But, you know, they were ultimately at that time, I think, the best team in the country, weren't they? If you look at where their position was.
No, absolutely. And did you approach that game, the Middlesbrough game, sort of in the same way as you had done at the previous rounds? Yeah,
I mean, it's quite funny, but I think if you're a footballer, I don't know at what level, but you don't get. I don't certainly get starstruck by who you're playing against. You know, I mean, you just go out with the same attitude in every game, and I think, you know, one of the problems I support Tottenham, unfortunately. And one of their problems is that they underrate sides and they're inconsistent. And I don't think that's anything that a non-league side do, even when they play a side that's lesser than them. You know, we weren't starstruck. I think we just went out and attacked it the same as we would any other game. Obviously, they're better players, so you're not going to have as much of the ball. But I still think we tried to play the way we play. And we had such, some quick players in the side that were going to give them trouble. When I look back, and you look back at some of those players and you think that they should have been league players anyway. I mean, Mickey Holyfield springs to mind as, you know, one of the quickest, most dynamic players I played with lots of energy. And God rest his soul, but he was a superb player.
I have heard as well that the left back of that team was quite special as well.
Yeah, it was nice playing with Mick because we were both quite quick and we used to overlap each other. And I got caught up, he'd cover me, and vice versa. So, for that, that one season, we had a great relationship, and I loved playing with him. It was a good, nicely balanced side. It was. And
you all got along so well as well, of course.
Oh yeah, I think it was a lovely bunch of guys. Even though we were young, I think that we were quite a mature side in terms of our way of thinking. And I think, obviously, Brian Lee probably saw that in the individuals that he picked or went after,
Did it surprise you in a way how close that game at Lokes Park was?
Well, not really. Having played the previous season against Newcastle, and then, I've played in the first round against Watford, Reading, Swindon, lots of sides over the years. And... the difference is not huge between people. It's a lot of it is choice. As in that era, I know I've just repeated myself to somewhat, but there were a lot of players that could have been pros. But at the end of the day, people had good jobs, and it wasn't something that ultimately made you a millionaire, as it would do today, or even wealthy. I mean, when I was an apprentice at Watford, I was there with Tony Curry, and Paul obviously played non-league as well for Dagenham and a few sides. And I met Tony last week for Paul. We went out for lunch together, and because Tony wasn't a gregarious person, he never really asked very much for money wherever he went. So when he played for Leeds and Sheffield United, he never earned enough money really to ensure that he had a nice healthy lifestyle once he'd retired. So, there's a guy that played for England at full level and in, one of the top players in the country, and he retired without a lot of money. And I think there's a lot, I think Gary Stevens at Tottenham ended up being a postman, so the glamour of being a professional footballer was very nice, but it wasn't always as practical as it could be. And I think as a result of that, non-league football in the 70s specifically had some real quality players. And I think, you look at all the sides, you can go to Sutton and there was Larry Pritchard and Ted Powell. I know they both played for Wycombe, but, you looked at all of the top six sides and they all had great players that were there every year. So when they played against the pro sides, that's why we always did so well. I think a lot of the guys could have been pros.
And do you feel a great sense of pride in what you achieved, obviously during your time at Wycombe for this run as well, but also, the other clubs that you represented as well?
Yeah, I look back, I played probably, 900 games or whatever at non-league level. And I went from being at Watford, playing the South East counties with the one man and his dog there, and then playing for the reserves with about 50 people there. And all of a sudden I joined Wealdstone and they had an average gate at 2,500 every game. So, you even felt that you were in a better environment than trying to learn the ropes of being a pro. And the atmosphere at non-league grounds then and the crowds were superb. No, I wouldn't swap what I've done. If someone said to me now, you could go back and at 20 you could have been a pro with Watford or someone on a permanent basis, or you could have done what you've done playing non-league sides, I wouldn't swap it for the world. Not at all.
Oh, it's fantastic. And also we had Brindley on the show last week as well, and I'm sure his father was a great sort of part in the progress that the team made at that time as well.
Oh yeah, of course he was. I think the thing is, when I was at Hendon, I was training at Bisham Abbey, and I think that's where I first met Brian. So, it was quite lucky really, because he had an open house to all the best players in the country that trained at Bisham Abbey with England. So, he knew his stuff, Brian, and he understood the game very well. And he had some great sides over the years, didn't he? Sorry to see him not here now, the same as some of the other lads.
No, of course, and fantastic for you to be at the Ex-Players Association dinner recently as well, and to be able to present Joe Jacobson with that award, and obviously the sort of the praise and credit that you received as well for your position.
Yeah, and that was very nice. And I've watched him. He's a good player. Incredible. He's got 50 goals in how many? Was it 300 appearances? Or
That's
something?
Right. Yeah.
And he's a left back, and he got 50 goals. incredible.
A lot of those from corners as well.
Yeah, I watched these corners. They were hot. Yeah, he's very good.
Is that something you especially followed when you sort of finished? Did you especially keep an eye on other players in your position?
Yeah, I suppose you do a little bit and try and compare. I mean, it's quite funny, but that if you look at some of the clubs now with Tottenham, they've got this inverted fullback situation where they almost play like a midfielder inside, and that's quite strange. I mean, I used to play midfield when I started, in early days, so I don't know whether that would suit me, but I can remember playing for the FA 11. We used to play with Charles Hughes, those that weren't capped for England, and I remember I was bombing up overlapping, sort of like a lunatic. And when I came in at half time, he said, "You're playing very well." He said, "But I'd like you to get forward a bit in the second half." I thought, Jesus. No, but I did it was lovely in those days because it was just a case of bombing up and down the line. You weren't just a defender. And I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I was encouraged to do that. So, that was nice.
Really nice. Obviously, another sort of plus of the dinner is to come together with former teammates, and fantastic as well on the 4th to be able to celebrate the occasion and another sort of coming together.
Oh, it'll be lovely, and it's because we're not that near. I don't get much chance to go and see games, although I watch you on the telly. But it'd be nice to see a game as well. Yeah, looking forward to that and seeing the other guys.
So, what would you say was the most special thing about the team of that time?
I think that obviously there were good players, and it was it was just a good balance. And if you look at back four, Alan was a real sort of driver. Keith Mead was the intelligent sort of one that stood a little bit behind. Paul Birds, I like to bomb forward as well. I think the midfield trio, of Howard, Terry Reardon, and Mickey Holyfield was superb. And then Surley, who I played with at a few clubs up front with Bodger, and Steve Perrin. It was a good 4-3-3 that was a very balanced side. And I'm just sorry that I couldn't have been there for longer. That's the only regret I've got in my life of football. I would like to have stayed there for a few years longer, but circumstances proved that I couldn't do that. So, there you are.
But as you say, fantastic to have those kind of memories to reflect on, and brilliant that sort of football's given you that as well.
Oh yeah, and what I find amazing is that the Ex-Players Association at Wycombe, I think, has got to be better than the majority of clubs in the league. I think how you keep it going with players from all eras is really wonderful, and it's Len Worley I see there. A friend of mine does some work for him, and he said what a lovely man he is. Do you know I remember playing against him? Yeah, it was a Wycombe past 11 versus the present one, and that must have been around 75, and he played on the other side, and I think he was about 50 or something, and he could still play. It was incredible.
No, brilliant. We should also mention your musical leanings as well, because it was mentioned at the dinner that you might be either getting some tips or perhaps touring with Gareth's band.
I did try talking to him the other night, but he was rather busy as he's only just taken the Shrewsbury job. But it's interesting that there's not a lot of people that do the two. I think I don't know if you remember. I think Roy Davis, who used to play for Hayes, he plays in a band as well. Roy was a midfield player. He played at Slough and a few places. So I mean, I only play about 10 or 12 gigs a year, but it's still nice to play.
It's brilliant that you've got that sort of release as well, if you like, and kind of that to do.
It's nice because I managed football until I was 50 at various clubs, and then I took it up at 50. So I've been playing for the last 20 odd years, and it helps to fill that void a little bit, because you do. I mean, when you stop playing, or managing, you do miss it. So it was nice that was able to take the place of football not take the place, but actually add something, No,
absolutely. Well, it's been a real pleasure to catch up with you again and to share your memories, and wish you a happy Christmas, obviously, but enjoy the celebrations on the 4th as well.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Colin. All the best to you.
Brilliant chatting to former left-back at Wycombe Wanderers, Gary Hand, and in the build-up to the 4th of January, we'll be chatting to Captain Alan Phillips next week, Captain Phillips, and also John Mascott and Paul Birdseye as well. Lots more great names to come with, thanks, of course, to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire, and on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
The Chairboys are flying high in League One this season, so come on down to Adams Park, get behind the boys and play your part in what will be a memorable season for Wycombe Wanderers.
71 minutes on the clock, up against Jed Stitt, dancing around on his line.
Take your time, Rich. Take your time.
Kone. Here he comes.
It's been goals for the Chairboys so far this season. Come on down to Adams Park to play your part and get behind the boys. Head to tickets.wwfc.com and use the code SOUND on booking for a chance to win a gantry experience at a Wycombe Wanderers home match. Come on, you Blues.
Final part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show. If you're a regular listener, you'll know there's a bit of a format. We do like a format. Still to come, we'll hear from the men's manager, Matt Bloomfield, looking ahead to the trip to Shrewsbury on Saturday. Bottom of League One, of course, taking on his own team, who are currently top of League One, and coming up against his former manager and assistant manager, Gareth Ainsworth and Richard Dobson. More on that on the way, but let's now turn our attention to Wycombe Wanderers Women, whose cup game against Penn and Tyler's Green was off because of Storm Darragh at the weekend. They're preparing for Sunday's game against Reading, an away trip, and their final game of the year, I should say. And do check out their socials for a look at some of the Spotify Wrapped, some of the music that they've been listening to over the past 12 months. Drake features quite prominently. If you're an older listener, that's not to do with a duck. But I've been catching up with, Ailish Carolan, who joined in the summer along with a number of other players. And Ailish started playing football since the age of 5.
I started playing football for my brother's team, actually, because at the time there wasn't really that many girls' teams around locally. So yeah, I started playing for my brother's team at the club that was local to us, and then they started up 2 girls' teams, one age group, luckily for me, and then one slightly older. And then, yeah, that's when I moved over to girls' football.
And really nice for you to have progressed, at different levels, and to playing at QPR recently as well. It must be fantastic to kind of really watch your own sort of game development as well.
Yeah, I think some of the opportunities I've had playing, especially for QPR, just being able to play at stadiums and in front of large crowds, it's just been absolutely amazing. Because when I was a young girl, I didn't even think that would really be possible, or you couldn't really see it. You knew teams like Arsenal obviously were historically always really successful and they used to win everything, but you couldn't really easily access women's football or go down to or see it on the TV and just see potentially your future if you wanted to go down that route. So I've been very fortunate where I've been able to play and the opportunities I've had.
And what was it like, the process of finding your position, or have you had a number of positions that you've played, and do you have a favourite?
Oh, I've played in loads of different positions, actually. When I first started, when I was younger, I was a winger. I was a right winger, and I played in midfield. And then just as I got older, I moved further back, and I've played in defence as a centre-back, a right-back, a left-back, and also a midfield player. But for the latter part of QPR, I was a defender, but I then transitioned back to being more of a central midfield player, but a defensive central midfield player. So that's where I was playing, and that's where I've been playing for Wycombe. But that's my favourite position to play. I just think, for me personally, I get the most. I enjoy that position the most, CDM.
Oh, you're like a Swiss Army knife of the team. It must be great to have that sort of versatility as well, and to be able to contribute in so many different ways.
Yeah, I think I'm naturally more defensive, but obviously from when I was younger, I used to love being involved in scoring goals or setting up goals, and I'm naturally more defensive now. I love defending, and I think that's why being more of a defensive midfielder suits me, but at the same time, I'm still trying to always improve and get better, and be great to add some more assists and goals to my game as well.
And how did your move to Wycombe come about?
I'd been at QPR for 5 years, and my time finished at QPR, and Carl reached out to me and just asked me to come down and to see if I would be a good fit for the club. And I came down and played in one game, and he wanted to sign me straight away, which was amazing. I could see how professional Wycombe were, and I could see what they were trying to achieve this season. And obviously our aim was to try and win the league, but I could see that there was definitely potential there, that it would be possible to do that. So, it was just really exciting opportunity, and luckily I've had a bit of experience where I thought I could come in and actually help the squad and help some of the younger players and contribute that way.
And Ellen mentioned last week that you and her have known each other for a long time. Must be really nice to link up again.
Oh, yeah. Ellen, I've known Ellen since she was about 15 years old. We played together when we were at Denham, and I'm buzzing to be playing with her again. I've watched her grow up, really, and I've watched her footballing career progress in all the different clubs that she's played at. So, I'm really enjoying being back together again.
It's fantastic, isn't it, that you can kind of bring previous partnerships to a new team as well, and kind of that must be a real advantage for yourselves.
Yeah, I think we obviously understand each other's game. We've played with each other at multiple teams, actually, at 2 different clubs, and I always want her to be able to show what she can do, and I like to think that I'm able to support her and try and bring the best out of her, and she does the same for me. So, it's just being in a new environment in a different squad. It's always good to still have those relationships that you've already built on the football pitch at different clubs, because you can bring that to your new club. So I think we've both really enjoyed being back together again.
And do you feel you're joining Wycombe at a really exciting time with, as you say, that the project that Carl's building, and the kind of the increase of kind of creative and attacking players that have arrived in the summer, and those that are already there, of course, as well? Yeah,
I love playing for Wycombe. I love looking forward to our games. I think we all get so excited now because we know that at minimum our team we've got such a strong attacking forwards going. Like, we've been able to score so many goals this season already, create so many chances, and they're also so quick. It's just exciting football to be a part of and play in, and know that the capability of the girls that we've got in this squad. I just look forward to match days so much now because I know what we're able to do on the pitch.
And it must be great for you to, you've settled in so easily and so well, and contributing so well as well.
Yeah, I like to think I've settled in easily. I'm pretty easygoing, and I love talking to anybody, really. So I feel like everyone at Wycombe's been so welcoming. There's such a lovely bunch of girls, and from all different sort of ages and backgrounds and different experiences. So I feel like as a collective squad, we're quite balanced, where we have some of the younger girls coming through from the 18s and the 23s, and then we've got some other really experienced players that have played higher up. So I think as a squad, we've just gelled together quite well. And it's not even Christmas time yet. We're nearly at Christmas, so I feel like we've just got to sort of keep building on the momentum we've already started to gain, and keep getting better and better each week.
And as you say, really nice for someone like yourself to bring your experience to not only benefit the team, but also to help with the development of the younger players as well.
Yeah, I think every team I've been at, I really enjoy sort of looking after some of the younger girls, and seeing if I can help them in any way possible, whether that's just supporting them on the pitch, off the pitch, just trying to make sure that they're all really enjoying their football, but also that they are working on the things that they need to do to get better and better. Because now in women's football, I feel like there's so many more opportunities available to younger girls that some of us didn't have when we were younger, like the facilities, the pathway, just the amount of clubs that you can play for. So I always want to see the younger girls really push themselves to give themselves the best chance if they do want to pursue a professional career in women's football.
And really nice as well with that. The men's team have played, obviously, Reading the weekend just gone, and you've got Reading coming up, which must be a great challenge as well with the level that they've been at, previously as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Reading were in Tier 2, and it's sort of what's happened to their club is just devastating, really. But that's why I think the girls that are there now, they really want to prove what they can do and show them, get the club back to where it should be. So it'll be it should be a really interesting game. I think they're really wanting to win as many games as they can and push themselves back up the league. So it should be a really good game.
And from yourself, from a player's point of view, have you noticed a real increase in the sort of popularity of women's football, especially just generally, but also with the club at Wycombe as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think since the Euros, I think that sort of women's football was already, especially from when I was younger, it had already sort of got bigger and bigger and bigger. I think the Euros really projected it to the start of where it is now, where so many more people were interested in women's football. They wanted to go and watch women's football. They wanted to go and attend games. They wanted to watch it on the TV. They wanted their young girls to be playing football and actually looked at it like this is a serious career option, an opportunity if we want young girls to follow this. So because they had role models to look up to. So I just sometimes I can't believe that Arsenal are playing in sold out stadiums. The amount of people that want to come and watch women's football now is just crazy. So it's such a positive thing for me to see.
And quite nice in a way, because I think some people are still pleasantly surprised, aren't they, by how the skill level and the fitness of the players.
Yeah, I only had someone say to me the other day, they went and watched Bournemouth, I think, in the international break, and they'd played professional football themselves back in the day, and he was just so impressed with the technical ability and the skill level of women's football. And I think the more women's football you watch, I think the more you sort of people actually understand and realise how much quality there is in women's football. So it's great to see.
And as we touched on, it feels like a really exciting time to be at the club and obviously targeting promotion for this season as well.
Yeah, that's the aim, but we're just taking it. Obviously, that's our long-term game, but we're just taking it game by game, really, because every single team in this league has provided difficulties for us to overcome to make sure we can try and win the game or get some points. So we're not trying to get carried away with the longer-term goal. We're just trying to chip away at it every single week and try and get better and better and better as a squad. But at the moment, it's going quite well. So, we're just trying to keep building on that momentum in the league and see how far we can get. It's a really exciting time for the club. I think the younger girls as well, they can see the pathway and they can sort of see the process of how they can get into the first team and and if we do well, it kind of it helps the club and it inspires the younger girls to push to make themselves better so they can have a chance to be in the first team. So obviously I think the club is an amazing club. It's a very community-based, family-orientated club, and at the moment the men are doing so well. It's nice for us to be able to try and keep up with them, really, and also show that the women's side of Wycombe are also able to do so well.
Well, I must say, keep up the good work and wish you all the best for the rest of the season. It's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Colin. Take care.
Brilliant to chat to Ailish, of course, who is a midfielder, but as you heard, a number of other positions as well. Looking ahead to the game against Reading on Sunday, and it's their last of 2024. We'll be continuing to follow the Chair Girls, of course, in 2025, and keeping fingers crossed for Carl and the team to get promotion, and also for the development and under-18 teams as well. All the best to them for the new year, and we'll be continuing to chat to more Chair Girls throughout the weeks on the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Let's now, though, speak to the men's manager, Matt Bloomfield, who was talking earlier on this afternoon, and looking ahead to a special game against Shrewsbury, of course, on Saturday. It'll be his 101st in charge. Coincidentally, his first in charge was at the same venue as well, which, as you can imagine, is quite nice symmetry for him.
Yeah, thank you. It's obviously been an incredible first 100 games. I hope there's many more to come, but it's been a roller coaster of a ride. We've had to do a huge amount of work we've really, really enjoyed. And we really relish in our afternoon on Saturday. It's going to be a tough game against a really good opponent, against a manager I know incredibly well. So it's going to be an interesting afternoon, a really tough game for us. But it's quite fitting that the 101st is back where the first one was as well.
And will it be quite strange in a way, sort of pitting yourself against the management team in the opposing dugout?
I'm sure it will, because it's going to be two management teams who know each other extremely well, who respect each other so much, and know each other inside out. So that'll make for an interesting dynamic. But it's a game we have to be ready for it, because whenever anyone played against us at Wycombe, we prided ourselves under the gaffer on being ready for the games, and they'll be prepared. Shrewsbury absolutely prepared tactically and physically and technically, ready to go and play the game. So we have to be ready ourselves.
And top v bottom, it feels an exciting one for the fans to enjoy as well.
Yeah, it's going to be on both sides as well, because it was only a couple of weeks ago that Shrewsbury in the Gaffer's first game beat Birmingham. We know they're going to be really, really tough opponents, and they'll offer a massive goal threat themselves. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting afternoon, I'm sure, and hopefully it's a good game for everyone to be involved in.
And being in such great form in the league is a great advert for all the players and their adaptability as well to come in when they're called upon.
Yeah, and I think that's been really, really important. And we've utilised the cup games especially to make sure we rotate and make sure everyone's sort of match ready. And the way we're trying to play is, we're not trying to be too clever, but everyone needs to know what their job, in and out of possession. Everyone needs to understand what's required, and their teammates around them need to build those relationships. And that can only come with playing games. And, I think we saw maybe on Tuesday night, it's not always easy to not play for a couple of weeks and come in and expect the required performance level. We weren't quite at where we needed to be, but it's really important for us to have the group ready to go when called upon, and to a degree we've done that this season, and we have to make sure we keep doing that.
And it really feels, obviously, whenever we speak to you, that there's a key run of fixtures coming up, but obviously December and over the Christmas period, there's a lot happening. Yeah,
there is, and I think I mentioned it a number of times. We've spoken about this a lot. For us to be where we are is absolutely fantastic, and we have to make sure we relish it and enjoy it, because no one expects us to be here outside the building. We have high hopes of ourselves, but we can't put too much pressure on ourselves. We have to understand where we are and understand where we're going, and just make sure we're relishing every moment. If we do that, keep the freshness in the building, then we'll be all right.
And do you set yourself and the players sort of short-term sort of targets as well as places you'd like to be at certain points, I guess, especially in the coming weeks?
No, I think we try and chunk it up and try and set ourselves smaller sprints rather than looking at the bigger picture all the time. I think it's really important to shift your focus. When we have a gap in games, we can zoom out and look at the bigger picture of where we've been this season, where we need to go. And then once you get back to league fixtures, it's about zoning in on the next run of games, or specifically just individual games. I'm not really one for making too many outlandish goals or statements. It's just about treating every game as an individual. I think that's really, really vital, the way we go about our work. For me, I can only deal on evidence and facts and approaching what's in front of me right now. And that's the only way I know how to work, and that's the way I'll continue to do so.
I mean, you're most pleased and proud with perhaps the hard work of both yourselves and the players, really coming to fruition, being top of the table and being in such good form.
Yeah, absolutely. I just said earlier on, I think that, we've drawn the last two games, but there's been some really incredible moments in those, some stuff we have to be super proud of. And maybe a couple of wins before that, it wasn't quite so fluent, and there wasn't quite the fluidity about us that we want to play with. So, yeah, we have to look at it in isolation, take the performance for what it is, and we have to keep going after the performances, because in my mind, results only come with good performances. So keep going after that and keep imprinting ourselves the way we want to behave, the way we want to play, and keep our identity, retain that, and look to improve at all times. And like I say, enjoy what we're doing and make sure that we're always after what's next. What more can we do? What's next? How can we get better? How can we keep improving? And how do we keep going chasing those points that we want?
Always a pleasure to have the manager on the show. We wish him and the team all the best for Saturday up at Shrewsbury. Congratulate him, of course, on that 100 games in charge on Tuesday night. And fantastic that he was nominated for the Manager of the Month yet again. You'll hear the whole match live, of course, from Shrewsbury on Saturday. Phil will bring you that from 3. And join us next week for the final show before Christmas. That seems strange saying it out loud, doesn't it? A busy fixture schedule over the festive period to look ahead to, and we'll continue our build up to 50 years since Wycombe Wanderers first got to the third round of the FA Cup. As I say, the captain on the day, Alan Phillips, will be joining us on that show as well. Have a great rest of your week, and whatever you do, keep warm, I suppose, and happy Christmas shopping as well.